Lacrosse community, my name is Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to recognize the skills you gain from the sport to ultimately live your best life possible. Today, we're so fortunate to be joined by co-founder of Wheelchair Lacrosse USA, part of the Rolling Seals as well, Ryan Baker. Ryan, thank you so much for joining our community today. For those in our community that aren't quite aware of your story, can you give us a little bit of your background as well as how you got into lacrosse in the first place?
Yeah, I'll try and make that quick. Thanks for having me, Ryan. This is great, man. I think what you're doing is really cool. So we appreciate the opportunity. It's awesome to be a part of this. Thank you. So I'm T6 paraplegic. I was in a car accident the day after I graduated from high school that left me paralyzed from about the sternum down. And I was born and raised in San Diego, graduated from high school in 1991. And it was the day after I graduated from high school that I was injured in the automobile accident. So this coming June, this coming June will be, I guess, 31 years or so. Is that right? 31 years, 32 years in the chair. And I did my rehab here in San Diego, but the accident occurred on my way to go live in Colorado. So I did my rehab here, left and lived in Colorado, actually followed through with that plan. My family was up there and I got involved in some sports, tried to get used to my body again, you know, all the stuff, Ryan, you know, learning how to get dressed, learning how to poop again, learning how to go pee, just starting from scratch at 19. And I was fortunate to still have my hands and arms, and I could still push my chair, be functional as much as I could at that point in my life and my recovery. And then I got engaged in all different kinds of adaptive sports and wheelchair sports. And one of the things I got involved with was wheelchair tennis. And when you learn how to play wheelchair tennis, you have to learn how to push with a racket in your hand. And so I just thought, why not a lacrosse stick? You know, kind of would function and work very much the same way. The woman that was my kind of performance tennis coach at the time, her husband was a high school coach for a boys varsity team in Denver. And so I knew about the game. I was familiar with sort of some of the history of it. My grandfather collected some Native American stuff. So I got some history, you know, kind of growing up. And I was always a little fascinated by lacrosse, but being from Southern California and growing up when I did, I never was given the opportunity to play as a kid or in high school. So I figured out, you know, that I could push with a lacrosse stick. This was about 1995 or 96 now at this point, a few years after my injury. And I'm back living in San Diego. I meet this guy, Bill, who eventually becomes like my co-founder. We do this together. I dropped the idea on him. And, you know, long story short, Ryan, is we went to a play against sports, like a used sporting goods store type place, went to a tennis court and just tried to play catch, you know, see if it could even be viable or something that we could actually do. And probably within about a month or so, maybe 6 weeks, we had 4 guys out, then 6 guys out, then 8 guys. And we built a goal out of PVC pipe and we bought a net on eBay, you know. And we had zero lacrosse experience. Bill, my co-founder, never played growing up. We had no idea what we were doing. At some point, we finally learned about the no bounce ball because we were using, the first couple of weeks, we were using like a regular outdoor ball. It was bouncing all over the place and a little nuts. And the ball spent a lot of time on the ground, you know, when we first started. But we found out about the no bounce ball, and then I discovered a roller hockey rink that was in the area. That changed everything for us and essentially became like box lacrosse for wheelchair users.
Oh, cool.
But we do, how it works for us is we play 8-on-8 And so we leave 3 in the defensive half at all times with 2 in the offensive half at all times. So whenever the ball's at one end, it's 5-on-5. So we sort of employ this outdoor men's offsides rule. We do use box lacrosse goals. We gently move them up a little bit. So the goal lines are actually like at the apex of a roller hockey crease, which gives us a little bit more room to play the ball down behind the net, which is great and creates a lot of opportunity. But that's kind of the story there in a nutshell. Is I've been hurt. I've been involved in a lot of different wheelchair sports and activities. And I guess, was attracted to this because it was physical, really high acumen in the hand-eye coordination department. And I just thought it sort of deserved a seat at the table of wheelchair sports, and yeah, it's been great.
Well, Ryan, thanks for sharing a little bit more about the genesis of how you guys started this. I think it was fascinating for me, and I know you didn't share it here, but you were with a group sharing the story, or maybe that's how you got to know Bill, all skiing, and then you brought it back. And you also talked about the fact that when you look at the wheelchair sports, basketball seems to be the go-to, but there's so many other activities that are, it sounds like, more entertaining or more difficult, and it gives everyone a different level or a different idea of the game. So I think that's fascinating. If you want to share maybe a little bit more about that, that was something that I really enjoyed listening to.
Yeah, thanks. One of the things that we have found to be really powerful about this is, because this is just like a passion project that has now sort of taken on a life of its own. We officially started Wheelchair Lacrosse USA in 2009, did our first clinic in 2010, and now we're at, I don't know, I would say about 25 programs or so, maybe a few more. Not all of those programs can field the competitive roster yet at this time. That's fine. They're still growing and getting more people involved. Things like basketball tend to be more popular. And I think in large part because you don't need a whole lot to get it going. So it's easy for individuals. It's more simplified programming for adaptive sports organizations, because basketball courts are pretty accessible places to be, and they're everywhere you go pretty much. Taking on lacrosse is a big ask for an organization, because they have to be responsible for the helmets and the pads and the balls, and hopefully find a good venue that would work for them. So it is a bit more of an undertaking, but nothing can match the speed of what we're doing right now. And that's not a dig on other sports, of course. I know plenty of highly athletic guys that are playing basketball, sled hockey. We have a lot of sled hockey guys that transition over to lacrosse in the summertime, because it's about stick sports for them, and playing lacrosse enhances their hockey game, and it's the same for the wheelchair basketball guys. They just find that it's a little bit more, it gives them a little bit more gas. What we're doing is different because there's so much real estate available to the athlete on the roller hockey rink space, and we can throw the ball 15 or 20 yards, and guys are just like, wow, I can't believe, like, you can just whip it on a rope, but to be honest, Ryan, the rate of attrition at a camp is going to be about 50%. We'll go do a clinic for 20 people, and the next day it might be, 12 or 15 guys. There's 5 or 6, maybe 8 that fall off right away. They just know it's not for them. They're not highly successful right away. So they want to be involved with something that they feel like they're going to be competitive at. Some guys have a little bit more patience for something like this. And the other thing that we're finding is players that grew up with lacrosse, playing in elementary school, middle school, high school, guys that played in college, sustain a spinal cord injury, and then find out now they can come back to it. And they are bringing a whole new dynamic and element to some of these programs and these teams. I mean, what we see is kind of like guys that know how to move the chair and are really good at mobility, but they don't have a lot of lacrosse experience, And then maybe we see some guys with more lacrosse experience, but they're still figuring out how to be mobile. Mm-hmm. And then the rare, unicorn in our community here is like the guy that possesses both the lacrosse experience, the mobility, is able to sort of catch and throw from both sides, really has good, lacrosse IQ, and can kind of act as like a coach player, and whoever has someone like that is in a really good spot.
For me, that's one of the most amazing things. It doesn't matter if you're on your feet or in the chair. Some of the fundamentals of stick skills, vision, communication are still the same. And those people that are able to put in time or have the time or just natural ability and end up getting better and better. When you look over the course of your lacrosse experience, Ryan, and running the organization and having this grow, do you have a pinnacle moment, or are there a couple moments that stick out to you?
Gosh, I mean, we've gotten so much more from lacrosse, I feel like, than we've given to lacrosse. It's one of those weird communities where it's just like a really cool, tight-knit fraternity of people, and very generous people. And I think in large part, we just want to see the game grow, give more access to the game, put more sticks in people's hands, let them try it, let them experience it. Because I really feel like if we can just give them the opportunity, they're going to be hooked, like we are, Pinnacle moments, I would say, gosh, and we got an invite to go to Canada one year. I believe it was 2012 or 13, maybe. And we played at the Johnny Powless Arena at Six Nations, got to play against the U19 Arrows team. And they put all these kids in wheelchairs to play against us on their box pad there. And it was, that was something I'll never forget. We got to have a goalie, and kind of set everything up. And for them to score a point or a goal, they had to hit the crossbar, it was something else. And at that point, we were only a few, 3 or 4 years into this, trying to really grow it. Felt like we had some good momentum. And then getting this invite, being able to participate in something like that, really opened our eyes to the level of skill, that can be achieved. Like we didn't have enough exposure to it. So going to some of these different places, meeting with and being with some of these different people in the community is just a massive education for us. But that was a really special moment. What else? We were invited to be in Israel for the 2018, I believe, Men's World Championships. That was also very special. Brought over some equipment. We're crossing our fingers, that continues our sort of international growth. Because the ultimate goal for us here, Ryan, would be to make wheelchair lacrosse a medal sport in the Paralympic Games one day. So yeah, that's what we would love to be able to do. But this is a marathon, not a sprint. I'm learning a lot about, what that takes. And we have a great board of directors that's kind of helping us. And I'm involved with some people at World Lacrosse, which has been awesome and a wonderful education as well. Learning the ins and outs of that and bringing lacrosse back to the Olympics, basically. So if our able-bodied counterpart can get in as planned and as we're all really, hoping for, then it will be a little easier for us to sort of ride the coattails of our, of our able-bodied counterpart into the following event, So we're really excited about the prospect of becoming, an international sport for wheelchair athletes.
Yeah, we spoke with Jared Buchanan. He spoke a little bit about what it takes to be able to take it lacrosse for the able-bodied into that international space. And that was one of the big reasons they brought sixes to the table, was to give some of those countries that don't quite have the same opportunities of space and fields and all the lacrosse experience, the opportunity to play and make it more even or equitable. And it seems like that would give you guys a great opportunity to bring it to the table as well. You mentioned a few things that I want to unpack. First was going to Canada. You didn't necessarily realize the skill that was out there. And I think that hits on, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And with that, all parts of our life, we take on the unknown. We have a vision, we have motivation, and we want something bigger. And it's that marathon that we want to keep striding for. And when we surround ourselves with others that have experiences or powers that, again, we can't fathom, but they get on our team, that's when we start to see success. Can you share a little bit more about what leadership means to you, Ryan, as you and Bill have started something that's really grown from nothing, and you faced a lot of adversity along the way?
Yeah, well, I had kind of more or less at the point I had met Bill, sort of more or less was pretty much settled into my injury. Felt like I kind of had a routine. I was better understanding my body. It'd been a number of years at that point. Bill was injured in 2002, and I didn't meet Bill until 2008. And so then we started in 2009, and I feel like, there were definitely some challenges, but I think, just again, getting back to giving people an opportunity to try something new, be involved in something that, maybe they've never done before, tried before. And this is a gamble. We know that going into this, not everybody is going to fall in love with this like we did. Lacrosse is not going to be for everybody. That's fine. I don't play wheelchair basketball, and I don't play sled hockey. I mean, I'm in San Diego. We do have a sled hockey team here, but ice time is really tough. But again, that's a sport that is difficult because it requires the ice, the padding, the helmets, the sleds, and different things. So you really, you got to be sold out for it and really enjoy it. But I think one of the biggest benefits for us, besides just bringing this out and making it available, is just creating the community of people. This is about, I think, I don't know, just a camaraderie that we get out of it. The international thing is interesting. The sixes thing is interesting. I think that will play into our hands nicely because it won't require as many players to fulfill a roster, and the rules can be a little bit different. The field can be, maybe a little tighter. We're exploring that right now, actually. But more than that, beyond the game and beyond, what we've been able to contribute and what we've kind of gotten back from it, there's no real way to measure that, but we just feel really fortunate and super blessed to be a part of the community. And it's interesting to think that this is something that I never, excuse me, I never would have done something like this had I not been injured. And so I kind of think about, just the way life unfolds for everybody. And, this is, as catastrophic as the injury is, this is a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
Absolutely. It's making the most out of the situation for sure. And also giving others that experience, which I think is amazing. And that's that community aspect.
Yeah, it's really special. We've been able to kind of create this whole network around the country. We've gotten partnership from the NLL and different markets where we have a wheelchair team are now partnering with their professional team. So there's just been some really, really cool things happening, and people just want to contribute and help it grow. But again, this is just kind of a slow process, and getting more and more people involved and doing things like this, Ryan, right? Just making people aware that we exist and we're legit, we're growing, and a lot of these teams are just really fired up about this new sport. It's been awesome to watch.
Well, we're so grateful that you've been able to join and share your story with us, Ryan. I know we're wrapping up on time right here. Do you have any last thoughts on lacrosse or leadership that you can share with our group right now?
Gosh, I just want to encourage everybody to stay positive. World is crazy right now. But I guess I try and stay focused on the things that I know are within my control. And if I can just sort of improve on myself a little bit at a time each day, or help an organization like Wheelchair Lacrosse USA just incrementally grow, improve, become better, then people around us become better and inspired. And I think that's kind of what leads to wonderful things, you know?
Absolutely. And if you have a little bit more time, Ryan, I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more how you go about being a little bit better, because I think that's something we should all be focusing on, no matter our age or anything that's going on.
Yeah, I think for me, I like having relationships and people that will sort of call me out on stuff, hold me accountable. I think being able to sort of self-reflect, have people come into sort of like your inner space, people that you know and trust, is really important. You know, we all need a little bit of kind of help to stay on the road, so to speak, and in our lane or whatever. But I just sort of think about, I guess, I want to go somewhere, got my headlights on in my car, it's dark out, and I can only see what my headlights are showing me, you know? But I know exactly where I want to go, but I gotta have to like find my way, not turn my headlights off, you know, get crazy, you know, out of my lane or whatever. Understand the destination, and sort of just as you go along, like different things are brought to light, you know. That's kind of, and that's a learning experience. And but yeah, I think just having really good relationships is something that's helped me out a lot, for sure.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate your relationship with us now, and we're definitely going to be promoting you guys and helping however we can. I will make sure to put your guys' website in the URL. Is there anything else we should be aware of? Or if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, just go to wheelchairlacrosse.com. You can find us at Wheelchair Lacrosse USA on Instagram, at Wheelchair Lax on Twitter. Facebook is Wheelchair Lacrosse USA. Info at wheelchairlacrosse.com is our email. I just want to say thanks to, you know, all of our sponsors and supporters, guys that make our chairs, you know, Melrose Wheelchairs, Hands On Concepts, Roho Cushions, STX Lacrosse Equipment, Pearl Balls, you know, just all the companies that support our vision and what we do. Cascade Helmets, Debbie, thank you. Just everybody that that's a part of this. Yeah.
That's the community right there, Ryan. It's everyone believing in the cause of lacrosse. And we didn't get to even hear the story about you guys bumping into the South Swell guys at the
yeah, that's old. Yeah, South Swell. Yeah, all those guys, all the adrenaline guys, Dan Meehan, Alex Cade, Steve Cepeda. Those guys are, I mean, we would not be an organization right now if it wasn't for South Swell Sports and the lacrosse presence in Southern California, that we were able to sort of stand on their shoulders to get out of the blocks. You know, that was a powerful thing for us.
Well, you guys have a powerful vision, and we all want to be behind you and support however we can. So Ryan, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sharing all the lacrosse you're involved in. We really appreciate it.